Milk is one of the most relied upon products around the world. The consumption of milk is a vital source of nutrition for hundreds of millions and a key industry of Australia. Today, milk comes in many forms, but researchers are entering a new milk into the market which may shock traditionalists. Milk straight out of a laboratory. Lab-based milk has the potential to support a growing population by offering a more sustainable, ethical, and customizable source of dairy products. However, there are still technical and regulatory challenges to overcome. So, how does the science work? Creating milk in a lab environment requires a genetically modified organism to produce milk proteins during a fermentation process. We asked an expert how this is done.
To have a microorganism make a protein that it does not usually make, you need to insert the DNA of this protein somehow in this organism. There are several ways. The most stable way is if you integrate the DNA of this protein inside the genome of the microorganism.
Researchers know the exact genes which produce milk protein in cows. This DNA is isolated and transferred to a new host, allowing it to create the same milk proteins.
So the DNA is getting transcribed into mRNA, and the mRNA is then being translated into an amino acid chain. And then after folding and post-translational modification, it ends up being a protein.
Now that we have a GMO producing milk proteins, there are key considerations before it is brought to market and issues to address.
Well, I think the main issue is that it has to be nature identical. So the protein that we produce needs to be the same as the bovine protein. Because GMO is so badly perceived, right? And we're already going in there, we're having genetically modified organisms, but the product we are making should be nature identical.
Another challenge for this product is to produce at scale and requires a huge volume of milk proteins to be made. For this, researchers must optimize protein expression and produce more protein per cell. The host GMO is cultured and grown to billions or trillions of cells using fermentation technology. Here, the GMO will begin producing casein and whey proteins, which are later separated using downstream purification. The proteins are then used to make milk.
One thing I find quite interesting is when you ask yourself, what is milk? So milk, like bovine milk, on average, is about 88% water, 5% lactose, 3% fat, 3% protein, and 1% minerals. So actually the majority of milk already is water, and the other components are not that much. Of the dairy proteins, it's 80% caseins and 20% whey proteins. So there are quite a bit of proteins that need to be made, but if you have all the right components and you mix it together, you're already very much on the right track to make animal-free dairy.
Now that we know the recipe for milk, we can customize the milk to any consumer's specific needs.
So you can change the composition. You could, for example, add another sugar or another sweetener, or you could increase the amount of minerals, for example, calcium. You could change the composition in the way you like it.
However you like it. The dairy products are also lactose-free by design if a yeast or bacterial host is used, and can be consumed by anyone who isn't allergic to dairy proteins.
So the target market would be everyone. Having something like animal-free dairy would especially benefit people who, for example, are lactose intolerant or do not eat any dairy products made by animals for whatever reasons, or are just more environmentally conscious because the water use or the land use as well as the CO2 emissions for animal-free dairy be a lot lower than for natural dairy or even plant milk.
So, a small glimpse into the synthetic realm to see how our newest milk is on the way. Love it or hate it, this new product has many positives, and lab-based milk is expected to be on grocery shelves worldwide within the next 3 to 5 years.